Okay, let's talk about the latest Firefly novel, Firefly Life Signs. I'll put up a spoiler warning later before I dive into the details. If you're just looking for a thumbs up or thumbs down, here it is. Yes, I recommend this book. It's an enjoyable read. Having said that, I think it does have its flaws. In this video, I'm just going to mention my overall impression of the book and talk about its good points. I'm going to save the harsher and more nitty-gritty elements of my critique for the following video. We knew that Firefly Life Signs was picking up a plot thread that had been hinted at in the TV show but had never had the chance to be resolved. I encourage you to watch my previous video where I've compiled all the clues that the TV show laid down that we're expecting to be resolved in Firefly Life Signs. So when it comes to tie-in media like Firefly Life Signs, I'm really looking for it to be two things at once. I want it to be a good story in its own right, and for this it needs to have a compelling story, a consistent plot, well realised characters, good world building, and it needs to be written in an entertaining, engaging and accessible style. But I'm also looking for it to be a strong chapter in a larger story, a part of a larger whole. In this case, the wider Firefly saga, comprising the series, movie, comics and the other novels. I want to see consistency in terms of character. The characters should reflect where I know they are in their personal journey. But additionally, the plot needs to be consistent with the larger story, and it should avoid introducing confusion, contradictions, complications between it and the rest of the saga. I also like to see when tie-in media adds information or deepens my understanding of the larger story. Whether this is providing a backstory or context to a character or event, or by developing a character by putting them into a new situation that shows us a different side of them. I want to feel like the story is contributing something meaningful to the larger saga. My overall impression of Life Signs is that it succeeds at the former, being a good story in its own right, while letting itself down regarding the latter, being a strong chapter in a larger story. I think it's really a shame because, as was the case with Firefly Generations, just a fairly modest change of direction and the involvement of a continuity editor could have made Life Signs a truly superb addition to the canon, whereas at the moment I feel it's a fine addition, but not superb. Okay, so I'm going to give you a spoiler warning now. I'm not intending to explain the plot of the novel in great detail here, but I will be making some reference to the text. So, the things I liked. I enjoyed immensely the theme of Mal's desperation leading him to fighting against the seemingly insurmountable odds, even against the advice and pleading of his crew. This was very Mal, and aligns very well with who I know him to be. I could absolutely believe that Mal would never abandon his quest to save Inara under any circumstances that faced him. I liked very much that this story drove the characters to such extremes that even Zoe would rebel against Mal's need to push onward. I was glad to see Simon getting a very prominent role. I kind of felt that Simon was sidelined a bit in Big Damn Hero and The Magnificent Nine, so it was gratifying to see him elevated to a more important status in Life Signs, particularly as I think James Lovegrove writes Simon very well. Similarly, Zoe's prominent role was also very nice to see, as I think she doesn't get quite as much attention in the series itself as she probably should, just due to her character being fairly stoic and acquiescent. I particularly like that her history as a Dust Devil was discussed at some length, and this was honestly a really nice surprise, as the Dust Devils are never mentioned in any media after it's first introduced in Better Days. And as I've said before, I'm a bit of a sucker for novels that reference comics and vice versa, so this reference really tickled me. While Jane didn't have a huge role, I think his dialogue was certainly very notable for being incredibly humorous, and Lovegrove made me laugh out loud several times with Jane's remarks and his contribution to the dialogue. So that was the good. As I said, Life Signs is an enjoyable read, and probably a fairly casual Firefly fan won't find much to complain about here. In the next video, I'm going to spend some time discussing some of the harsher criticism that I have, which is likely to bother more hardcore fans of Firefly.